Dear students, very good morning. Today we will turn our attention to a critical area in environmental governance and sustainable development, in specific reference to the Western Ghats. Our discussion is rooted by an article written by Professor Madhav Gadgil, the ecologist who previously chaired the Western Ghats Ecology Expert Panel. So we will discuss in detail about his version, and this article is based on the article written by Madhav Gadgil in Indian Express editorial page. Now let us see why this topic is important to us, why we need to study. Because the Western Ghats are not just a biodiversity hotspot. Even we know that they are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, right? It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. These forests face the continuous degradation since last few decades, not only due to environmental exploitation, but also due to the bureaucratic mismanagement and the exclusion of the forest communities from the decision making. So, the author, the Madhav Gadgil, he strongly argues that we cannot green the Western Ghats using just data at the forest department. The real solution lies in placing people, especially the forest dwellers, those who are living in the Western Ghats region. So his point is very clear. So we need to put these people who are living there as a forest dwellers, we have to put them at the center of the conservation efforts. Without that, how much paperwork we do, we were not able to green the Western Ghats. So for ecological environment, the greening Western Ghats is very, very, very important at the moment. Even the Forest Survey of India and the Forest Department, these two placed a major role in reporting and managing the forest resources. But the other Gadgil says that the FSI data is outdated. It is clearly outdated and it is overly aggregated. And he also says that it is often deliberately distorted. And coming to the forest department, the forest department always operates on the top-down approach and anti-people approach and anti-nature. Make sure that please use the words carefully because these are not our words. These are the words of Mr. Madhav Gadgil. So you can use his reference when you are calling these type of the criticism against the government departments specifically. So he clearly says that in 1975, the basket weavers in Karnataka protested against the depletion of the bamboo resources. Even the Professor Gadgil's investigation also showed that bamboo estimates used by paper industry were inflated by 10 times to justify the commercial use. So, what the Professor Gadgil says that the basket weavers in Karnataka in 1975 actually they conducted one protest against the depletion of the bamboo resources. But the Madhav investigation, it clearly says that the bamboo estimates used by the paper industry actually they are inflated by 10 times to justify the commercial use. And this type of the bureaucratic work which damages both ecology and also local livelihoods. And he clearly says that science versus secrecy. Just we will see what is that exactly. He's talking about science versus secrecy. So Professor Gadgil gave another example actually. In 1972, the ISRO and also the National Remote Sensing Center, they used satellite imagery to map forest cover. Their findings clearly says that there is a 15% of the forest cover that is contradicted with the forest department claim. So the science says that some kind of the number. That number is less than 15% what the forest department actually gave. The science says that because science is most technological version, we will believe the science generally, right? So whatever the satellite imagery, we will believe that. So that satellite imagery clearly shows that the 15% of the forest cover is less than the forest department's claim. So the government actually they have not responded with the reform, but they clearly says that by shutting down independent satellite assessment and making the FSI is the sole agency for the forest data, which continues even today. So because they feel that there is a difference, the scientists, the satellite imagery and everything says that whatever the forest department claim, it is wrong, and 15% actually the original forest is less. So then what the government has to do by the time, it has to do the some independent investigation. Otherwise, it has to check whether the forest department claim is correct or the ISRO satellite imagery is correct. Without having any that much discussion, they simply discarded the independent satellite assessment and making the Forest Survey of India is the sole agency for the forest data, which continues even today. That is the biggest problem. So this is a clear case of bureaucratic monopoly over science and also public accountability. And the now we will discuss about some Grasim case, which is also related to environment. Actually, in 1963, the Grasim factory in Mavur, which located in Kerala right now, they polluted the Cheliyar river with mercury, lead, and other heavy metals. So there is a factory called Grasim factory, and it is located in the region of Mavur, that is in Kerala. Actually, this factory, it polluted the river Cheliyar. With what it was polluted? With the particles of mercury and lead and also other heavy metals. And it received bamboo at 1 rupee per ton, even though the market rate originally at 1400 per ton. But the government gave them for just 1 rupees per ton. This led to massive bamboo forest loss and toxic impacts on the local communities. So the Gadgil clearly criticizes such examples as state-supported industrial exploitation that destroys both nature and also the traditional livelihoods. And he clearly asked the government to follow a successful model, that is Pach Govan. That is the main part of his proposal. So there is a village called Pach Govan in Chandrapur, Maharashtra. Actually, the Pachgon village in Chandrapur, Maharashtra, it was granted Community Forest Rights, CFR, under the Forest Rights Act 2006. So which means that community has right to reserve its forest resources. Now, the village is managing 1,000 hectares of the forest sustainably. Because according to the 2006 Act, that is the Forest Right Acts, this Pachgovan village was granted the community forest rights. Now, because they got the community forest rights, they're able to manage 1,000 hectares of the forest sustainably. 1,000 hectares, which is a big number actually. And it is also clearly observed that the bamboo sales generate income and also reduces migration in that region, because the community has right now to manage those resources. The villages even, they have voluntarily conserved 30 hectares as sacred groves in the same region. Even the forest health has improved and carbon sequestration has also increased. That is also one of the things. The carbon sequestration, it is also increased. Now the Gadgil says that if we are giving the rights of the forest to the local community people, like how we gave to the Pachgovan village in Chandrapur, Maharashtra, then the forest health will be improved much better compared to the existing structure. So that is what the Gadgil's whole point was. So the Professor Gadgil outlines a clear path The first and foremost thing he is recommending is implement the Forest Rights Act honestly, especially at least in the Western Ghats. The second one, he says that community forest rights please assign to the local people. The third one, he says that promote democratic decentralization, which means that he is asking to involve the Gram Sabhas and local bodies, and their decision is very important to manage the forest. And also, he recommended that end the monopoly of the forest department. Because right now, any information which is coming about the forest is coming from the forest department, just otherwise by the forest survey. So largely the Gadgil feels that the forest department is maintaining lot of secrecy and it is not revealing the details, and it is the right time to shift the community rights, the forest rights to the community people as per the Forest Rights Act. And he clearly shown that the example from the Pachgowan village in Chandrapur region as well. So the Professor Gadgil's message is very sharp and clear. Environmental sustainability cannot be achieved without social justice. That means the forest governance must move away from the bureaucratic secrecy and the commercial exploitation towards a model that is science-based, transparent, and people-centered. The Western Ghats can regenerate, but only when people who have protected them from generations and made the stewards of their own forests rather than the forest department. This is the whole point of his version. So to somehow extent as an aspirant you can take it, but don't straight away go like a criticism in the examination or interview. Just you can quote that scientific based backup is much important to justify the data is given by the forester department. If there is any deviation, so we need to investigate it. Just you can take that stand. And also you can take an example of the Pachgowan village, and also you can take the Grasim case, both. So the Grasim case says that this is actually the government decision is actually reduces the forest health, and the community which is protecting this region actually increases the forest health. You can show these two examples and you can support that the community conservation and giving and doing the decentralization, democratic decentralization, especially for the region like Western Ghats, is a need of our to protect the Western Ghats. So that is how you can understand and you can put your point maybe in the mains examination or the interview. But don't go straight away that the government is wrong, the department is wrong. Don't go in that way. So, but you can take an essence from this article, because these two examples are very useful for you in the mains examination. That is Grasim case and the Pachgowan model. Thank you so much. We will see with then another editorial tomorrow. Thank you.